All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our midweek edition of Two Guys and a Mic. I'm one of your hosts, Big Sean.
And I'm your other host, RP.
All right. I hope everybody is having a good week. It's cold. It's frigid here in Cleveland, Ohio.
It's cold as heck.
Probably about 25 degrees right now, but that's the norm. It's the end of January going into February. But once we hit February, the light is at the end of the tunnel.
That's the
as
hope.
far as getting out of this winter wonderland that we live in. So we have a few things that we want to discuss today. And by being the anniversary of the tragic death of Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna, as well as I think it was 11 other people on a helicopter. And I do apologize that I did not, write their names down, but you want to honor them as well. So it's 13 total on that helicopter that crashed in California. And so we kind of wanted to touch on, what was Kobe's legacy, what he meant to us, as an athlete and as a person. So Ron being, growing up, he was a huge Lakers fan. So I'll let him go ahead and start off with that.
The funny part though about that, Sean, is I was a huge, as you said, I was a huge Laker fan. Magic Johnson is my favorite player of all time. And, watching that team as we were growing up as kids, when I started liking them, it was easy to because the Cavs were so awful during that, the early 80s.
Right.
The Cavs were horrible during the early 80s when I started watching basketball. So with the Lakers and the Celtics coming on, seemed like every Sunday. Seemed like they played every Sunday. I know they didn't, but that's what it felt like. If they weren't playing each other,
every Sunday.
They were on every Sunday. If they weren't playing each other,
like every Sunday and every finals with them and the
Right.
Celtics. And remember, back then they didn't have national coverage the way they do now. So
right.
Early on in the 80s, they had what they would call like Sunday afternoon basketball on CBS. Sometimes on Saturday with Tommy Heinsohn and Vern Lundquist.
Yeah, sometime a big game. It had to be a playoff game for it to be a Saturday game, though.
Yeah. And you were they pretty much rotated the Lakers, Celtics, the Sixers,
yep.
the Rockets,
the Knicks.
Yep, they'll show Milwaukee. They'll throw them in there.
Yep.
So that was pretty much it. Like you really didn't see.
You didn't get a lot
of many teams.
And again, unfortunately, the Cavs were so awful. If you wanted to see good basketball, you weren't gonna see it watching the Cavs on Channel 43. I'll tell you that. Not early in the 80s. We're talking early 80s, like say 81 through about 85, 86-ish.
Really 86 until they drafted Mark Price, Ron Harper, and Doherty. So that was I was 86.
That was like 86. So
now they would make the playoffs, but they get swept in the first round. Every time.
They was getting handily swept too. And they were still young. Like I don't think Mark Price was fully who he ended up being like a couple years later after he first got drafted. He ended up.
Well, I was kind of meaning before they got there.
Oh, in 85-ish, I remember him making the playoffs, but nobody expected much out of him. But the point of me bringing that part up was that was one of the reasons why it was easy for me to like somebody else, another team. That's why I ended up, liking Magic. I loved Magic. I loved the Lakers back then. But the crazy part is that when Kobe got there, I didn't like the Lakers so much. I really wasn't a big Kobe fan. And that lasted pretty much throughout his career. I wasn't like a huge Kobe fan. Now, I liked him more probably as he got closer to retirement, but that was more my respect. I always had respect for him. And I think my respect, I understood. I looked at him more like I looked at Larry Bird. Like, while I hated Larry Bird while he played, that dude he was the man. And I hear people always disrespecting Larry Bird now, the younger cats. And I'm like, dude, you couldn't have seen this guy play. Like, he was incredible to watch play. And that's how I felt about Kobe. I never missed when I was a season ticket holder. The crazy part, I missed one game that Kobe played in. That was his last game in Cleveland.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't know. We didn't know that he was going to retire. It wasn't like he said, okay, next year is going to be my last year. we had split the tickets with another buyer. And I was being nice, like, okay, I'll let them see the Lakers because the Lakers weren't that good that year. So I'll let them go see the Lakers. I've seen Kobe play a million times. And then, like, literally about a week or two later, they was like, they was gonna, he was announcing his retirement. I'm like, dude, can I get those tickets back?
Right.
Because I got to see the Bane playing his last game. But Kobe was like that bridge to me. He's like that bridge from the old school and into the new school. He played like the old school guys. He played with some of the old school guys. He had that drive that the old school guys had. You know, back in the day, it was all about championships. If you ain't win a chip, they was like, what you playing for? What you show up for? And that was always the drive. You know, Michael, Magic, Bird, all those guys, Isaiah, they woke up in the morning tasting another championship. And Kobe was from that ilk. He was one of those cats that felt like to be the best, you just got to be the best. And I'll do whatever it takes to be the best. And I didn't see that in him early on. I didn't understand what the thing was, why the Lakers felt like they had to have him, and yada, yada, yada. Later on, I started to see what it was. I mean, he was just an incredible player. And, you know, to go back to last year, you know, I was traveling a lot at that time, and I just got back home. And, you know, I have a fear of heights, but I really don't like flying. I don't have a fear of flying. I just don't like flying.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense. I don't even know if that makes sense.
No, I get
it. To hear that he passed away in a aircraft accident, helicopter, I know it was, but that like really just kind of shook me. Because I'm like, man, you really just don't know. And I'm on the plane 8 times a month, you know, during that time. So it really just left me feeling a little bit weird about flying. And I think I've only flown like twice since.
Okay.
You know, but, you know, and that's just on our end. I think the bigger loss, of course, is at home, his wife, his other daughters, the Laker family. I think they feel the biggest holes because they knew this guy. This wasn't just a guy who they seen play basketball. This wasn't just a guy who was on a commercial. This wasn't just a guy who was, you know, who was viewed like as an asshole because he was on the, you know, he was an opponent or whatever. This was
right.
This was a father. This was your husband. This was your friend. You know, and I remember watching the tribute. You know, when they had Shaq and those guys on the thing, man, and them cats couldn't even talk. Like that's how much of an impact he left on them. Like them guys couldn't even hardly talk. Shaq couldn't barely talk without crying. You know, all these guys all around the league, man. You know, when them games started back up, like the next day or whatever, like they said Kyrie was in the building when he found out, and he just left. Like they turned around, and he was just gone.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't even be in the building. They said the same thing about Carmelo. Carmelo didn't come back for like a week. He just stayed. Like I'm telling you, the impact like that we felt was nothing compared to the impact that he left on those guys, and that's the big. Like that right there let me know all I needed to know if I ever had any doubt or ever had any different kind of thought about Kobe or the type of person that he was, is when you saw those guys, his peers, the guys that knew him, the guys that hung, even the guys who might not have liked him so much, they all were impacted by that. What's you know your take on that?
Well, you kind of lead exactly into what the point that I was going to make. Because the thing that I like about watching anybody's story, or if you know, I like to read, you know, biographies and autobiographies and stuff like that, because people that have achieved, you know, perceived greatness or greatness, I don't look at the end results, the money, the fame, the fortune, the accolades, or whatever. I always look at what did they have to sacrifice to get there,
right?
And what or how did they grow as a person So like one of the most fascinating people to me was like Malcolm X, watching his growth progression. Kobe, to me, not compare him to Malcolm X and not ilk, but as far as his progression as a man and growth as a man, I loved his growth because when Kobe came into the league, I wasn't a Kobe fan either. And you know me, at that time, and I still am in a sense, I was like just Cleveland and die. I ain't care about nobody else's basketball team. Like for real. And they win a championship. I'm like, I don't care about the damn Lakers at all. And to me, like Kobe was like a gun. To me, he was like a selfish. Well, really, once Shaq left, once he ran Shaq out of there, and they started to struggle.
That made me dislike him a lot too. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, and they had all those layers. I was like, yeah, why is everybody Kobe this, Kobe that? And once Shaq left, he couldn't do anything, on his own.
Right.
He rubbed his teammates the wrong way. He was very brash, abrasive, kind of an a-hole, a jerk.
Yep.
But you saw him. I noticed subtle changes, like later on in his career, with the Olympic team, how guys were taking to him. He was mentoring guys, and like the esteem that they were holding him in. And even when he was playing on those losing teams in LA, 2003, 2004, Kobe would have forced his way out of LA.
Yeah.
The new version of Kobe was like, I'm gonna mentor these guys and show them how to win. And you didn't hear him bickering and complaining, when they weren't making the playoffs those years. He just tried his best to be the best example, and he was a warrior. And that's one thing I always admired, was just his competitive spirit.
Yeah.
And that's when they could always make this comparison to Jordan. I don't compare Kobe to Jordan as far as his dominance. I compare Kobe to Jordan as far as his attitude, what they call the Mamba mentality, the killer instinct. Kobe would literally go out there and try to rip your heart out and didn't care.
That was his whole point of waking up. Like he woke up that morning like, oh, yeah, him. That's the guy who I was dreaming about last night.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the part, of his game that I admired the most. Now, one thing that I regret in my years as a sports fan is I never really made a purpose to go out to see the superstars when they came in town. Out of all the three teams that we have here, I've probably been to the Cavs games the least.
Really?
So I didn't get a chance to see Jordan. But a lot of that, I was little, so it wasn't up to me whether or not I was going to the game or not. And then once I got older, I was in college in his later years. So I never really got to see, the NBA greats when they came to town. But I did get to see Kobe, because I think you took me to one game. This may have been right after LeBron left the first time. So we had Kyrie by that time.
Yeah, we were going back and forth too. Kyrie and Kobe were going back and forth, like scoring.
And I snapped a picture of Kobe Bryant at the free throw line. So he's probably, outside of LeBron, is probably the biggest superstar I got to play in person. I think, did I see Durant? I might have seen Kevin Durant come in town a couple of times.
I can't remember the other, because I know we've been to at least.
We went to a few.
We've been to at least 3 games together. At least 3. I think we might have been a couple more.
Might have been a little bit more than that.
Right. But I know for sure, but of course, I can't remember all of the games that we went to. All of the actual teams that we were playing against, rather.
Right.
But Kobe is, for me, I think I've seen him outside of LeBron. I've seen LeBron a million times play, so outside of LeBron, I think Kobe and Shaq would be next, or Paul Pierce. I saw a lot of them every time. Tim Duncan, I tried to make sure, because I'm like you. As a kid, I never saw Magic play in real life. I saw him on TV a lot. I only saw Jordan when he was with the Wizards, which wasn't bad, but that wasn't
the thing. Yeah, it's not the same.
Guy you really wanted to, that you were really trying to see back then. I saw Isaiah play, and that's it. I never saw Bird play in real life. I seen Bird coach, never saw him actually play. So as I got older, I just wanted to try to be able to say I saw those guys. Then I was blessed to be able to, be a season ticket holder, and I got a chance to watch most of those guys throughout their career. Most of those guys, I've seen every last one of them. at one point or another. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, but just my final take on that, or just that I love to see his growth. And really, one of the best memories I have of Kobe is not really of Kobe at all. It was when they were trying to create the LeBron versus Kobe thing, and they had the puppet commercials.
Mm-hmm.
I thought those were some of the best commercials.
Those were hilarious.
That night, yeah, too bad. Mike Brown had the worst defensive plan against Orlando Magic in the history of coaching, and we didn't in that finals with LeBron and Kobe was not realized. But that's another
Yeah,
story.
we not listen. I tell you what, rabbit hole we're not finna go down.
Right.
I'm not about to have that because yeah, Mike Brown, bruh.
Right. But but you see the impact he's had on guys. I just like to see guys grow and mature.
Yeah.
And Kobe was that, and he'll surely be missed. When he passed, I was in shock. Matter of fact, when I first heard the news, you know how people always playing these pranks saying so and so died or whatnot. I didn't believe it.
Of course.
And I put my phone down. I was like, oh man, somebody out here just playing around. And then my phone just started blowing up probably about like 20 minutes after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, man, it kind of felt like a emptiness. And I normally don't have that reaction towards celebrity deaths.
Right.
So I try to keep things in perspective. But that one, just because of the suddenness of it and because of who he was, that one kind of left me feeling empty. The only other celebrity death that kind of really hit me like that of all people was Anthony Bourdain. Yeah, because just because of the way that he was living his life, and this goes to show that you never know what somebody is going through.
Yeah,
because I really don't say that I envy somebody's life or something like that because you don't know what they're going through. But like Anthony Bourdain was one. I'm like, this dude just traveling around the world, eating, drinking, smoking weed, and talking shit. What better life can you have? He had just got married, had a baby girl,
and it seemed like he was having a good time doing it. But
exactly. And then the dude commits suicide.
Like
so yes, you never know what people are going through. But yeah, man. Like I said, Kobe will definitely be missed, and my respect level for him is way up there, man. Just as far as the competitor that he was, and then the man that he turned out to be.
Yeah, he was definitely a guy that kind of showed me that you can make mistakes and you can do things wrong, but you can also overcome the things that you did wrong.
Yes, most definitely.
Change. You can refocus and get yourself back on that energetic path that you were on before. And it's not like he's the only example of that, but I know that his mistakes or mistake was very high profile.
Mm-hmm.
It was all over the place. Everybody was reporting about it. Hell, even in his death, you had people asking questions about it still. So,
right.
It's something that continues to follow him and continues to follow his legacy. And to me, I think it is a part of his legacy, but I think the bigger part of the legacy is how he overcame those things, how he ended up, like you said, the maturation, not allowing that mistake to, just affect him in a negative way. It affected him in a positive way.
Right.
And that's something to be commended, because we don't see that a whole heck of a lot. So again, I still feel a little bit of hurt. I'm like Sean, I was in complete and total shock when I heard. I didn't believe it either. And it just, kind of was like one of those, like, wow. Like I was really literally in some level of shock. And I'm like you, I don't get like that about, especially, celebrity passings. I think the other time that it happened with me was when Fife Dog passed away.
Okay.
Like that hurt. Like I was hurt because I felt like I grew up with this guy. I didn't, but I felt like I grew up with Fife.
One of my favorite hip hop groups of all time.
Yeah, that's my favorite hip hop group.
Top 5 hip hop groups of all time.
For real, for sure. And when he passed, and I knew he had been sick, but when you find out that he passed away, I was hurt. Like
Did
it
you
felt
watch
like,
that documentary?
oh yeah, heck yeah, I've seen
Okay.
it about 100 times.
Okay.
So I was hurt by that. And Kobe was right there with that one. Like
Gotcha.
it hurt me. Like I was like, wow. Again, because guess what? I did watch Kobe grow up. I
Right.
literally watched the
And
dude
one
grow
other
up.
thing too, and I never understood this. I went out to California to visit my brother. Shout out to my little brother Quentin out there in Orange County, California. This was what, 2017, I think 2017 or 18. So we walk into a bar, and I got my Cavs hat on. Everybody just like me mugging me. It was like, yeah, you cool, but I don't like that hat you got on. And I'm like, what's the problem? Like, we don't play you know what I'm saying? There's no Cavs Lakers rivalry whatsoever. And it was like, well, it's just because of LeBron. I'm like, but because this is whole thing where there is a what I'll call the KB24 cult. There's a Kobe Bryant cult in Los Angeles where he could do no wrong. And just for the simple fact that people were elevating LeBron, comparing LeBron to Jordan more so than Kobe to Jordan as far as their legacies, had them feeling some type of way. And I kept getting it. Like when my brother took me over his one of his partner's house, same thing. He was like, man, I shouldn't let you in this house with that hat on. I'm like, wait. I'm like, I was just like, wow. I never knew the level of this stern they had for LeBron just because they felt that Kobe was that guy and not LeBron, and all had to do with the ring. Because they would say, well, Kobe got more rings and he got the killer instinct that LeBron doesn't have, And I was like, well, I can't argue that, but I don't have I don't personally don't have a beef with Kobe because nobody, like, people in Cleveland love Kobe Bryant. You know what I'm saying? It's not an issue.
We
with
go
us,
to
but I
the
thought
games,
that dynamic was interesting.
we go to the games. It's almost as many Kobe jerseys and Lakers jerseys in the crowd as it is Cavs jerseys, and that's even when LeBron was here.
Right, and then also what I understood too was that the generation after us looked at Kobe as that guy. Kobe and Iverson.
Kobe's their Jordan. Iverson is their Jordan.
Yeah. Same thing kind of in football, like with Michael Vick. I didn't understand, like they so we looking at it from we older, so we looking at it as like, nah, we seen cats better than that. You know what I'm saying? They're looking at it, but those are the guys that they held in. It's such a statement when you go back and look at it and watch the old games and stuff like that. I was like, okay, I get it, because I was kind of at that point when the Lakers are winning their titles. I was kind of like an NBA limbo because you were coming out of that Pat Riley, Jeff Van Gundy era where it was just battle ball. It wasn't basketball anymore. It had turned into some type of blood sport where the games were hard to watch. The games would be like 85 to 75.
Shoot, them games, I used to love those games.
No, man, because they would just slow down to like a crawl. Now, I like the physicality.
That's the only thing I didn't like. I didn't like it. It did seem like they were stalling because Van Gundy's teams weren't that good at that time. No, excuse me, the Heat teams weren't that good at that time, rather. And they really couldn't score. And Van Gundy really only had one or two scores, LJ and Allen Houston. But I agree, it was 81 to 84 game every single night. Especially in the playoffs, like in the finals or whatever, it started to get a little bit.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, I was like kind of, and plus the Cavs really stunk then.
Yeah,
that was the whole like that Chris Gatling, like it was a Chris. Who was on that team?
I forgot.
Chris Mills.
I forgot. That was at the end of Sean Kemp.
Yeah.
And so we still had like Andre Miller. He was the best player on the team, probably.
Right.
We had Dre. We had what's the other kid's name? DeJuan Wagner.
Yeah, who never panned out.
Chris we just Mills. Had a lot of Chris Mims. Who was our coach? What's it called? The black dude.
Tyrone Hill.
Huh?
Tyrone Hill?
No, the coach. Who was our coach back then?
John Lucas.
John Lucas, that's it. I couldn't think of his name. Yeah, so it was tough to watch.
It was bad.
That was
And
a
I
tough
missed out.
basketball to watch.
And then I realized just probably like 2 years ago that I missed out on some of the best playoff series ever. Like I half-ass watched the Lakers Spurs rivalry. I watched it, but I wasn't like
Oh, you know, I
into
was all the way in it because
it.
at
Yeah.
that
Now when
time
I
I
go
was a
back,
Spurs fan.
right, I went back and started watching those games like all the way through and really paying attention. I'm like, damn, these was some battles. You know, I do remember, Robert Ory's the big shots and stuff like that.
Big shot
You
Bob.
know, big shot Bob. I remember what was the point guard for the Lakers? Derek Fisher.
Fish,
I
yeah.
remember that one game hit that huge shot with like 0.1 seconds against the Spurs.
The Spurs,
So I
man.
remember those moments, but I just wasn't all the way into it. Now I go back and watch it now, and I'm like, man, these were some
Now,
those
those
were
were some
great
great
battles.
games. They had some great early in the 2000s. You had Portland. That was pretty good. That's when they had Scotty
That was the Jailblazers team, though.
with Wallace and all those guys. Like they was balling. They was right
Ruben
there
Patterson,
too.
Ruben Patterson, and Uncle Cliffy was still
Uncle
there.
Cliffy was still
Zach
rocking
Randolph.
Yep. Uncle Cliffy. That was my guy too. Uncle Cliff. Look, as a Laker fan, I hated all those guys. But you know how you always, even though you hate a team or hate guys, on the team, you kind of say, there's something about that dude. I just like that.
Right. Cliff Robertson was a good ball, man. He was a good player.
And that's what it was. Cliff was that guy that you knew if you had the opportunity to get that dude, you want him on your squad because he was gonna do a little bit of everything. And that's how, that's how he was. He did everything. He defended your toughest guy. He could jump out the gym, he could shoot a jump shot, always was playing. Like he never was like, you never just saw him lagging and stuff. That's why I always liked that cat. But yeah, the early 2000s was a good time. It was kind of the transition of what we're seeing now, the wide open game. They, got rid of some of the stuff in the lane. And really what was kind of slowing the game down. But, that was the beginning. That was like the first stages of kind of I call it free ball. Like that's what we're doing now. We play free ball. Everything is loose, open. Ain't no 7-foot free dude in the middle.
Almost too loose. I need like some balance.
I think it's too loose, but I guess it is fun to watch. It would be interesting to watch if you had somebody that.
It's not fun to watch to me.
It's not.
It's not fun that these guys coming down just taking bad shots.
I don't really like that. Also, I don't think it teaches you how to play ball. Like I think we had better, fundamentally sound players back in the day than we have now. Not that guys don't have talent. It's not that. The talent is definitely there. I just don't think that these guys, there's no need for a real mid-range game because I can just keep going straight to the basket.
And that's an argument I got into with one cat, man. He was saying, well, the guys now are better because they're just more athletic. He was like, guys like Michael Cage and John Sally, you wouldn't have a need for them in the league now. And I said, well, that's like there's a bunch of cats now that couldn't survive back then in that league because they're just not tough enough.
They're not mentally tough and they're not physically tough enough. Right?
Exactly. So it's a trade-off on that. And I said, just because guys are more athletic nowadays does not make it a better game or better.
And that's the part that I don't think they understand. Just because you're more athletic don't mean you're better.
Right.
We just had that conversation the other day about back in the 80s, early 90s when they get into the tournament in Princeton, who if you just say Princeton got most people don't even know Princeton has a basketball team.
Right. Princeton
would be in the 64 in the March Madness. And they would play good. They weren't the most athletic team out there. I tell you that. Right. But guess what? They played hard and actually won a game before.
How did they do that? 1 year.
That's fundamental.
I mean, look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady is probably the most non-athletic quarterback in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But he just gets it done. He's
definitely less athletic than Lamar Jackson, but who's in the Super Bowl and who's not?
Right. Exactly.
So, and it's not. I ain't even taking. I'm not even taking a shot at the Ravens or Lamar. It's just the truth. Like the truth is, the old 40-plus-year-old white guy who isn't mobile is in the Super Bowl. the mobile running all over the place, former MVP, is at home. Now Mahomes is a little more athletic than Brady, but Mahomes is still more of a pocket passer. I still kind of lean more towards the pocket passer. I think that
Me too, because I think that the reason why KC gets off the way they get off is that it's like that Mike Tyson factor back in the day, when it's that Mike Tyson mystique where you defeat it before you get on the field. It's like, oh man, there's no way we can stop these guys. And once that mystique comes off of them, it may happen in the Super Bowl. Well, that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
Once that mystique comes off, then you'll really see how good Pat Mahomes actually is. And this, there's no shade, but this dude just throwing a wide open dude, man.
I mean,
Kelsey and Kyrie Hill just running all around the damn field.
And they're not running tough routes, bro. I saw that in the Browns game. I thought before that they were running some real
complex, whatever.
Complex, little hard. Like that's why he got so open, because the way he shakes and moves. And it doesn't mean that he can't do that, Tyreek Hill. Doesn't mean that. The point I'm making is when you watched some of those plays, this dude just ran.
Yeah, they just do a great job.
Ran like at an angle and was wide the hell open. There it is.
They do a great job of creating confusion and like mismatches by all the motion and different gadget stuff that they run. But we don't want to get off on a tangent.
Yeah,
so let's lead into
it. We don't want to go too far off.
And turn this into a 4.5-hour damn show.
So yeah, let's so we wrapped with the Kobe thing again. R.I.P. to Kobe and Gianna and all the other victims that were on that plane. On that helicopter. My prayers and thoughts are still with their families. And I think we're done with that particular segment. Let's move forward. Move on into our Cavaliers here. The Cavs are
9-9, currently probably AFC Cavaliers.
And you know what? And we said it before the season started. We're a couple of the few. I put us out there, bro. We actually said, because the national pundits were saying that the Cavs were probably a 20-something win team. We both said that's bullshit. We saw the potential that this team could probably win 34, 35 games. I think I said 32. I think you might have said 34.
I said 35, something like that.
Yeah. I thought
probably about the pace that they'll probably end up being on when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think they're right on pace with what we thought or what we expected to see out of them. So it's not a disappointment. It still is a young team. You know what I mean? They're very young. They have some old parts, but they're very young in terms of
and even the old parts aren't ancient.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're just, guys like, Andre Drummond and JaVale McGee.
Really, like Kevin Love.
And Kevin Love.
He's the old guy, because I don't think Andre Drummond might be 30 years old, maybe.
Yeah, I don't even think he's 30 yet.
And
JaVale McGee may be right at 30.
So
yeah,
he just looked like he's 50.
Right.
But so as this, what are we? We're half now, 18 games. What are we playing? 72 games this year?
Yeah, so you're about a quarter of the
way through the season. And they haven't looked awful. They've had some bad games, but they haven't looked awful overall. Like if you look at the whole of the season, the Cavs look, pretty decent. Right now they are in the 6th spot in the playoffs.
I just showed you how bad the East is.
And that's one of the reasons why we thought they could probably win 30 games. Mm-hmm. Whereas other people were saying only 20 or whatever. So, shout out to what's his name? JB Bickerstaff.
Yeah, I think he's done an excellent job. Just preaching defense, man. The Cavaliers the last 2 years had, I think, the worst defense in the NBA, or one of the worst defenses in the NBA, where it was pretty much a layup drill every game. And them cats was giving up 140, 135, 140 points a night. That's what it seemed like. I'm exaggerating, but it seemed like they were giving up that much.
Listen, cats
every
coming
night.
here to get on. Excuse me, cats that were having an off, maybe an off road series or whatever. They come in here like, oh yeah, I get it going tonight. Because they knew that they weren't gonna, they weren't gonna be looking at anybody who was gonna be playing real hard defense. And then again, we're not long. We weren't long. We didn't have many shot blockers. We were one of the worst. And this is even with the supposedly really, really, really good Tristan Thompson. We were being out rebounded.
You can't take a shot at TT.
Listen, man, I'm not a habitual shot taker.
Yes, you are.
You always try to peg me as a habitual shot taker. I am not a habitual shot taker. I'm just saying. Apparently, there's people that think this guy's not just highly mediocre. They think he's pretty good. I just tend to think he's highly mediocre. That's all. I should have been impressed that he is a left-hander by nature, and he learned to shoot with his right, which is what any basketball player should do anyway. Duh.
Look, before we go off on this Tristan Thompson tirade, one of the big decisions that the Cavs will have to make is whether or not to offer one Andre Drummond a contract extension. Matter of fact, they were talking about on the radio really for the past couple of days. And the NBA really, the way it's played now, does not lean towards his skill set. Big men have kind of been phased out, or the big men that you do have are like glorified giant guards, like 7-footers like Kevin Durant, Dirk Nowitzki before he retired, guys like that. Even Luka. Luka's a big guy. What is Luka? He's not a 7-footer, but
he's like 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah, but he's still a big guy. Like he's turned into like a guard. It's a guard dominant league, or just wings, guys who can score. So I'm not opposed to signing Andre Drummond or playing a big game. Because one thing that was kept the Cavs in these games is that the Cavs actually have some lift now. So now you got him, you got JaVale McGee.
Yep.
You got Jared Allen. I love that pickup from Brooklyn. And Taurean Prince has shown me something too. Now that he's out of the shadows of Durant and Harden and those guys. Well, he wouldn't play with Harden. Well, not Harden, but out of the shadows of Durant. He can kind of play a little bit more freely. He kind of has a nice game.
No, he got a really nice game.
He can defend. He can shoot a little bit. He can do like a little bit of everything.
Yep.
So I'm not opposed to the Cavs having a bigger lineup in there because, and plus they rebound great offensive rebounding team and defensively, and that keeps you, in games. So looking at Andre Drummond's stats, first of all, Andre Drummond is making something like $28-29 million a year, which
28.7
is insane that Detroit gave him that contract, but I kind of understand their thinking at the time. Andre right now is averaging 19 points, 15 rebounds, and about 2 assists, which is really 2.5 assists, which is really good for a center. My problem, he's only shooting 47% from the floor, which is horrible for a center. You close to the basket.
They probably don't run sets for him to get close. And now I've seen that myself. I agree with you. He should.
Yeah.
A guy that's 6'11" with that type of size, I believe he's due weigh at least 260.
Something like that.
So a guy his size should be able to get to a lot closer shots, but it doesn't seem like they run sets for that. He's always kind of shooting a turnaround over a guy as opposed to like getting right to the basket. But again, I think that's the way that the NBA is anymore. They don't want to slow down the game with the big guy, dribble, and all that stuff. So I think that plays a part in it.
And one more thing, and I'll let you go. My problem with Andre Drummond mostly is that when I watch the game, he makes about 3 or 4 really boneheaded plays a game, which tells me that his basketball IQ isn't that high. Sometimes he just tries to do too much. Like there was one play against the Lakers. We were in that game. He gets the rebound. Had Colin Sexton on the wing. Give the ball to your point guard. No. Andre Drummond decided he's going to bring the ball up the court like he's freaking Pistol Pete Maravich. Like, what are you doing? Like, pass the ball to your point guard. But instead of passing to Colin, he tries to do a cross-court pass over, I think it was maybe a Coro or somewhere over there, and the pass gets stolen by LeBron, layup. And that was like a 4-point swing right there. And he does other things where he'll try to force a shot that's not in his repertoire. So stuff like that kind of bothers me. So if we were to bring him back, I don't mind him bringing him back. It just has to be at a much lower number. Can't be paying him like, 28 to 29 million. If they offer him, if I was the Cavs, look, man, we'll give you a 2-year deal, like maybe 20 million, 24, something like that. It's like he can't really sneeze at that. Now, if another team was willing to be dumb and throw a bucket load of money at him, then so be it. All right, fine. We got Jared Allen still as a nice young guy that kind of maybe fits more of the mold of today's NBA for a big man. And, peace out. So that's my thoughts on him.
Well, I'm always of the mindset that you want to get something. I'd rather get something than get nothing. So coming into the season, I understood why he decided that he wanted to pick up the option on his contract. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I doubt that there's going to be somebody else who pays you $30 million just because. Not this year, anyway.
You never know, man. The way they passing out money, like Buddy Hield, those guys get paid.
I just didn't say, but you never know. I said the same thing about Hayward when he left Boston. I said, man, that dude got to be out of his mind. Ain't nobody paying him $30 million. And then Michael Jordan was like, hold my beer.
Right.
Exactly. So I would think that nobody's gonna pay. And I think it's a difference between the type of player that Hayward is or could be and the type of player that Drummond actually is right this second. Because, again, going back to kind of piggybacking off what you were saying, you got a 6'11" guy that isn't super skilled outside of, say, 10 feet. So now you have to think about paying this guy $30 million, and he's, I think, 28. 27, 28-ish. So he's not actually, he's in the midst of where he's going to be his best at. I don't know that he's going to be able to turn into a guy that can shoot as a 6'11" guy, 7-foot guy, 15-foot jump shots on a regular basis. 18-foot.
And I don't even want that from him. I just want him to do.
That's the other part of it.
Do what he does.
How would you even want? Or why would you even want that when this guy can get you 15 rebounds just because he took his warm-ups off?
Right.
So I want that dude under the basket, if you ask me. I want him somewhere close to the basket because you're right. I think a part of why we are or have been so good is because we get second shots. We get to reset, that offense and get another opportunity to score. And a guy like Sexton who can score and is coming into his own as a scorer, that helps him out a lot. That gives him another opportunity, and that's what you want, a young team to have opportunities. So where I was going with that, though, is as a team, any other team, like, are you really going to get this dude $30 million to come and play on your squad to do what he does? Again, I'll be honest, 19 and 15 ain't bad. I don't know that it's $28 million worth of doing good, but to be honest, if you're gonna pay a dude, there you go. I can't say he's not doing his job. I can't say that he's not doing his end of what he's supposed to be doing.
And that's why I'm saying something like a 2-year deal in the range of like 12, 13 million per in today's NBA for what he does. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. Especially him coming off a big contract. He made his money.
He's going to take Well, he's probably. I don't know that he's ever going to get another huge contract.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, most likely he won't.
But you know, a guy. Listen, if I'm him, if Tristan Thompson can get 16 million a year, if I'm him, I'm like, yeah, I need at least 18 to 20.
Okay, I see what you're saying. And but
You know what I mean?
peep this out too. Boogie Cousins is a cautionary tale. When the Pelicans offered him, a nice deal, he was like, "No,
Yep.
I'm worth more than that." And this, he didn't snap his Achilles.
Yep.
Now he doesn't look the same at all. In Houston, he's pretty much a shell of himself right now. So sometimes somebody puts that deal on the table, nobody else is beating down your door. It's a guaranteed contract. Go ahead and get your guaranteed money and play your way into something better. You know what I'm saying? If you feel you deserve more, short on the court.
To me, that's what you got to do. You got to. It's a slippery slope when you're in those contract years, unless you're a guy like a, like a LeBron. Unless you're a guy like Steph Curry, who you ain't got to worry about it. These guys they're going to sign you. They're coming for you. If you're Kevin Durant, it don't matter. Somebody coming to get you. But and there's other guys out there, but they may not be coming to get you for, whatever money you were making on that last contract. Because guys know, the market ain't the same, and I don't think the market is the same for for Drummond. Now, what I've been hearing recently is the talk of a buyout. I don't know that if I'm the Cavs that I really want to do that, only because you get nothing for him.
Well, is he unhappy here right now? Is he being a cancer in the locker room or being disruptive?
No.
Why they want to do a buyout and get him out of here?
No, I don't think the Cavs are talking buyout. I think Drummond's camp is talking buyout.
Oh, so he can go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And contend.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And one of the teams that I've seen talked about or spoken about has been the Nets. The potential that he'll go.
I saw that
out there to the Nets or whatever.
It don't really make sense for them though.
I don't really think it does either. I don't know if they just, but it does and it doesn't. And here's how it does. The Dum Dums gave up their one defensive option with the trade of Jared Allen, and also getting rid of Prince. That was one of their better defenders.
And Karis LeVert. Shit.
And LeVert, I forgot. That's right. And they got rid of LeVert too. So you got rid of three guys that actually would play defense, actually could play defense. You know what I mean? And now they're struggling. I won't say kind of struggling. They're struggling defensively, and they don't rebound that well. So they're in games, and they got guys that are in games with them that shouldn't be in games with them, to be honest, when you look at it on paper. So adding him could get them the same things that we were just talking about with the Cavs. It gives you, extra opportunities, extra shots. He's a walking, because he showed up, 15 rebound a night type of guy. He just is. You go back, you look at his career. This dude is incredible in terms of being able to locate the ball. I don't know why the ball. It's like remember that old game where you try to get the ball to go in them holes.
Right. Some guys just have a knack for that. Rodman was one.
Yeah.
Moses Malone was only like 6'8".
Moses Malone. I mean, these guys. Barkley.
Great rebounders.
These were guys that just kept rebounding the ball, and it always.
They said it's like guys like that just know how to read the ball coming off the rim.
Yeah, and that helps. I mean, you got to be able to do that. Actually, Rodman said that specifically, that he would sometimes watch the ball, like he'd be in shoot-arounds, and he would just watch somebody shoot and say where the ball was going to go. Like he'd be sitting off on the side and say, that's going to come out this way. So he would play that with himself in his head, and when he get in the game, he'd see that same type of shot and just get himself close to where that ball was going to be, or where he thought it was going to be. A lot of times guys just go under the basket and just hope that it comes their way.
Right.
Then there's guys that actually, I guess, go and locate the ball. But I don't like the buyout situation because it doesn't get the Cavs anything. You just basically get out of that, paying the guy the $28 million over the course of a season. But you don't really get out of it because now you got to give him this money up front, so to speak, unless you work out some other kind of.
Yeah, I don't think the Cavs are going to do that. I think the only way the Cavs do that, because now players have learned the formula. Well, if I want to get out of somewhere and they won't give me what I want, I just act like a little baby and act an ass until they just have to trade me. Now, me being the jerk that I am, I would, even if it doesn't benefit me, I would ship dudes as like Sacramento, and then take it. Here you go play out there in NBA Siberia for the rest.
And it ain't gonna hurt. We already people will say, "Oh, you can't do that because then nobody will want to come play for your team." Don't nobody want to come to damn Cleveland anyway.
Right.
So you ain't losing.
Yeah, these guys that get. I can understand the way that LeBron does it. As much as people will criticize LeBron, at least LeBron honored his contracts.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
He never lasted out every contract.
Yeah, he never just forced his way. He's like, all right, I'm here until X, Y, and Z, and then we'll talk about it then. But when guys like Harden and some of these other guys are actually getting their way, and AD and those guys, it's setting a bad precedent. That look, Harden, you was making like $40-something million a year. You signed that deal, and all of a sudden, stuff doesn't go your way. And now it's like, I want out. And now when guys get in their way like that, now just making other guys, do that same formula. It's like, all right, now I'll just act up and be a cancer in the locker room and make them get rid of me. And then they trade them to where they want to go. Which I'm like, man, I was like, have some balls.
Yeah, when you trade them, like that be tripping me out when you end up trading them to where they want to go. Like to me, I ain't against trading. Like when AD wanted out of New Orleans. All right, bet. I'm like the Spurs. All right, we're gonna trade you. And they sent them to Toronto, which is totally opposite of what he wanted. Kawhi wanted to go to LA or something. He wanted to go back home. And they was like, we're not sending you to LA so we can play you 4 times a year. Nope.
Exactly.
You could do that on your own time, but we're not sending you there. And people will say, they sent him to Toronto and he won a championship. But let's be honest, when he went to Toronto, who in the hell thought Toronto was going to win a championship?
That championship don't count.
Nobody thought they were going to win that championship.
It doesn't count.
How the hell don't it count?
It counts, but don't because they was playing a G League team at the time.
Hey man, it don't matter. Listen.
No, I'm serious. Like if as much as I loathe Golden State for what they did when they got Durant, them playing Toronto with just Steph Curry, and they still almost lost.
Listen, first of all, they have championship medal. They are a championship squad. All of those guys everybody on that bench has at least one title, in that finals did. So you're talking about a team that's going to play at a high level just because that's who they are. It ain't. I'm talking about Golden State. Okay. It ain't Toronto's fault that all these guys got hurt.
No, it's not their fault. And I don't expect the city of Toronto or the Toronto Raptors organization to discount that title that they have.
Hell no, because of the Cavs. Look, we lost a championship the same way. If Kyrie would have played that first time we played,
yep.
If I've never said this before to anybody who is listening, let me tell y'all something. If Kyrie Irving doesn't get hurt, we had already lost Kevin Love in the playoffs earlier in the Boston series. If Kyrie Irving doesn't get hurt in game 1 and tear his kneecap and his patellar and all that stuff, we would have beaten Golden State.
No doubt. Now, me personally, the type of competitor that I am, this is just me. Let's say the Cavs beat Golden State, but Steph Curry and Klay Thompson went down in like game 4. Yes, I would have loved to have the ring and I had a championship, but it wouldn't have felt the same.
But you still got to win, though, bro. You can't.
No, you do have to win. But I would still rather beat a team at their best. So there's no.
I don't disagree.
Just like okay, for example, when we won, what was everybody saying? Well, if Draymond hadn't got suspended, blah 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 blah.
Look,
you know what I'm saying?
Because we still got to win.
I know, and that's a horrible argument because like you still got Steph
awful.
and Clay and he only missed one game and y'all was up 3-1.
And you talking about a guy? I know he has an effect. I know he has an effect on the like on a broader part of the game. He isn't just a guy who, if you look at his averages, he's probably was. I think during that series he might have been averaging like 14 and maybe like 9 assists and like 7 boards or whatever. But he does do other things that you don't see that doesn't show up in the stat book. Exactly. He had a solid series, so I understand them feeling like they're missing an important part of what they do. They were. However, if we lose that game, ain't nobody gonna say the same thing. You know what they're gonna say? I don't know how y'all didn't win without Draymond. We beat y'all without Draymond.
Exactly.
That's how sorry y'all were.
And that's plus, exactly there were 6 other games where he did play. But
you still had 2 games that they could have won and that they didn't win.
Right. Like my example, just saying, like if guys were going, like your top guys missed 3 or 4 games out of the series. Yes, I'm gonna be happy my team won the championship. You still got to win, but I want to beat a team, when they're full strength.
I don't disagree. I totally, thoroughly, in any competition,
like
in any
just like when we beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs, that game wouldn't have felt the same if it was Mason Rudolph, because we finally got that son of a bitch. Before we finally got that bastard, the Sith Lord.
It wouldn't have
felt the dark side of the empire. We finally
felt the same, but it would have felt good. I still would have been like,
it wouldn't have felt to say no. I needed to dethrone.
That bastard. You preaching to the choir at the end of the day, because we were really saying the same thing. I agree.
Yeah, he had to go.
If I'm running a race, and I'm running against Usain Bolt, and my man pull a hamstring, 50 yards into the 100-yard. Guess what? I'm still gonna break that tape.
Right.
But be pumped. But I do understand I'm gonna have to deal with that guy later because that wasn't him at his best.
Right.
So I would understand that. And that's what I felt about, when Kyrie got hurt, I felt like that was that opportunity that we was this freaking close. Hopefully we get another opportunity. Thankfully we did.
We did. Because it was just, man, that series, it was LeBron, Tristan, and Deli.
That was awful. And we won a game. We won a game after that. Won 2 games after that.
Right.
I don't know how, but we figured out a way to win 2 games. Now, I'll be honest, that was LeBron at his best, to me. That was LeBron at his best.
That whole playoff series, the whole playoffs from beginning to end, LeBron was freaking incredible. He did it again the year Kyrie left. Matter of fact, the year Kyrie left, up until the finals, I think may have been LeBron's best playoff performance of his career.
Yeah, them fools shouldn't even. I was like, man, how the hell they get to the finals with this squad?
We had 3 different iterations of the Cleveland Cavaliers that season.
Yeah.
People forget we had Derrick Rose at one point. We had Dwayne Wade. You had Isaiah Thomas. You had what was that bum number 99 that came here that was playing good with Boston and got here and sucked?
You're talking about Jay Crowder.
Yeah, him. Right. We had him on the squad. Then also it turned into Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance Jr. Who else was on that team, man?
Yeah, that team was not. I mean,
JR was a shell of himself. He wasn't playing well. I forgot who. It was awful, and he literally dropped.
Chuck was here for a part of that, and then he wasn't.
Cool.
Like Chuck was here for a part of that, and then he just wasn't on the team no more somehow. I don't know if they traded him. I don't know if he was a part of a package. I think he ended up in Memphis or something like that. Chunk. I can't remember how that
Yeah,
happened,
Shump didn't play. No, Shump was on the team. He just didn't play.
which I didn't understand though.
Me either. I remember we had Jeff Green.
Oh yeah, we had Jeff Green.
Oh God. Yeah, that
was. We also had what's that kid's name? I thought he was gonna be good when he got here, and he wasn't. He didn't play that. He ain't play that. I can see his face. I think we traded him to Utah.
Oh, you talking about Hood, Rodney Hood?
Rodney Hood. Yep. He
Oh,
didn't
he
do that
sucked
much.
in the playoff. Man.
Yeah, he
He
didn't do
was
that
horrible.
much.
Now, the one guy that did kind of George Hill did all right
Well, George is
until he missed that
George,
damn free throw in game one.
and and the dude is like an 85% free throw shooter.
Right.
So, but you know what? LeBron has played some really good basketball, but he always does something that just gets under my skin at some point. In all of those types of games, he does something that makes me say, "What the hell is he doing?" Like through my teeth type. Like I'm really pissed off because I'm talking through my teeth, type of stuff. So like I still and remember the first finals game, the game that we went into overtime with Golden State. He took that shot. He just dribbled out the clock and took the step back. I'm like, get a ball to Kyrie. Get a ball to Kyrie. Let Kyrie shoot that. Kyrie's either gonna make it or go to the free throw line, right? That's my train of thought. Instead, he shot this dumb, run the clock out, step back 3-pointer. We go on to overtime, and then Kyrie kneecap decides they don't want to be a part of his body no more. You know, it's like little stuff like that. Like we ain't even have to be in overtime. Right. It doesn't mean Kyrie wouldn't have eventually gotten hurt, but it does mean we could have walked away with a game 1 win. And those other 2 wins that we ended up getting anyway.
I hate that in the NBA anyway. Like why in the NBA now when you got 15 seconds left? Why all of a sudden like you just don't run the play no more? You give us your best player ISO the top of the key. The only team that runs plays was San Antonio.
San Antonio
15 seconds left. They run a full-fledged play, and whoever is open on that play gets the shot. You know,
they like to think. I think the NBA has become that. Like, and that's something else too. Like, if you look at the league that we grew up in, if you look at some of those plays where you saw guys hit last-second shots, like Michael hitting a shot, and hell, it's those last-second moments. They were all set plays or off of set plays. They don't really run set plays like that with 15 seconds. So when you only got like 7 or 6 seconds, they'll run a play. For some reason, if you get the ball, if you get a rebound and it's 18 seconds on the clock, guarantee you about to watch 18 dribbles.
Step back 3 clink.
That's what you're gonna get. That's how they rock out. But I think going back to Drummond, I prefer that they make a trade for the dude. We get something, even if it's a draft pick or something. They probably won't get much more than a second or maybe a first.
That's fine. I mean, because he has a tradable contract right now.
Hell yeah.
Trade him with somebody that needs some rebounding and defensive help. I agree with that. Matter of fact, as well as he's playing right now, it wouldn't upset me at all. Because I think you got a Jared Allen who can who can fill that role pretty well. Now, also, what are they going to do with JaVale McGee? He's another one that for some reason he done got the green light from JB Bickerstaff. And he's another one that has about 3 or 4 just like boneheaded plays a game. I'm like, man, what are you doing? just do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, but stop with the shooting, bro.
Yeah, but overall, man, like the Cavs are playing well. They definitely have to change that roster. The thing that I'm scared of is that they're okay with Darius Garland and Sexton in the backcourt at the same time. And it's like that's not going to work. As a matter of fact, since Sexton had those huge games against Brooklyn, teams now are just defending him differently. Now he wanted his respect. No, he's getting it now. And what it's showing is you're a little guy. You need somebody else to come out and help you. And I see him at times because now he feels that it's his team. And he's starting to do too much at times. It's like, all right, man, pass the ball. You the guy, but you still only 6'1", like barely. So but
You
the
know,
Cavs don't have another legitimate scorer or wing guy that can fill it up. Now I'm seeing good signs out of Windler. Darius Garland to me is still too small, man. That dude look like he in the 12th grade.
who was that? Oh yeah, Garland. Yeah,
Not even in 12th. I'm not even gonna give him the 12th grade, man. More like the 9th grade. That's what he looks like right now.
yeah. He's
Just too
a little
small.
guy. Like, he's a little guy.
Right.
Like, gee whiz, bro. Get your weight up, son. He's the guy. He's the guy who I clown because he just like
like Mace Windu.
At the
Right.
thing, yeah.
Right. Yeah, now one guy too that's really improved is Chetty. I'll give Chetty his props, man. He's improved his game
Hey, the dude
quite a bit, man.
has gone from probably maybe one of the like least capable looking basketball players I've seen in a while to this season actually playing solid basketball. He's playing solid basketball this year. You can't. I know a lot of Chetty haters. I'm not necessarily a Chetty hater. I was just being honest. Like, dude,
Yeah, he wasn't playing well. Yeah, he wasn't. But you got to remember, this kid was like 18 when he got over here.
Here's the problem, or here's the thing that like was making me say, man, what the hell? He was balling overseas, then like over the summer and stuff like that. In the summer league, he was looking good. Preseason, he was balling. You're like, all right, bet. Then the season starting, it's like, what's he looking at the basketball like? What's this orange thing y'all keep throwing at me?
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? But he's definitely gotten better since those situations, which weren't that far away, by the way. It was just last season.
Right.
He's definitely gotten better. He's definitely been hit a spot where I think he still ain't playing up to that contract. I'll tell you that. But
no, I thought it was a little premature to give him that extension.
Yeah, but at least he's playing better basketball, a better brand of basketball, a watchable brand of basketball. I don't say to myself every time he gets the ball or every time he comes in the game, get that dude out of the game. I'm actually capable of watching him do his work, and that's good. That's good for him. So I'm hoping as he's trending up, I get that credit to JB for getting after those guys and maybe putting them in better positions too. I don't, you never know what they were asking of him at that time. So what the coaches were asking or coaching staff was asking of him. So maybe they got him in a comfort zone now. I don't know, but he looks better.
Just 2 points I wanted to make about the Cavs, and I'm done. All right, so this is a shout out to all the memo, rather, to all the Cleveland Cavaliers fans out there. I see a lot of y'all getting very happy and kind of giddy that the Cavs are playing well and playing these teams tough. Well, did you guys have a reality check right now? The Cavaliers roster stinks. As compared to a top tier elite basketball team roster, Cavaliers suck, and I need y'all to understand that. What you're seeing right now, early in the season, they're playing against teams that aren't playing that hard right now because still early in the season, and they're playing other teams that stink just as bad as we do. So when the Cavs play the Pistons and the Wizards and Sacramento, they start playing those teams who are just as bad as we are. Yes, we're because we have good coaching and we hustle. We're going to look good, but the Cavaliers starting next week are going into a gauntlet in February. And it's going to be it might be a bloody mess coming out of February. So I want you guys to temper your expectations. Y'all think everything is the Cavs stink, and I need y'all to understand that. We're good enough to be between a 6th and an 8th seed in the playoffs, and that's fine. So I want everybody just to slow your roll.
And not just temper your exuberance, but temper your expectations too. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going right where Sean was going. Sean and I never had high expectations of the Cavs. So if they go on a let's say, a 8-game losing streak. Let's just say I really don't think they will, but let's say
Not
that they
that
do.
one, but
Let's just say
yeah.
that they do. I'd be like, damn, I wish they would, figure it out, whatever. But I wouldn't be like, oh, well, here we go, same old cap. I have regular expectations of the Cavs. I do know what that roster looks like. I know. I remember when I started back watching when basketball kicked back up, right before it went off, because of the COVID. I was in Vegas and I was watching the Cavs game. They were playing out west, and I literally didn't know no damn body on the court. I had no idea who the hell any of those dudes
It's
were.
guys now coming off the bench. I don't know who these people are.
And,
I don't know who this Dean Wade character is.
But listen, and I'm gonna tell you something about Vegas, and you know this because you've been to Vegas enough. In Vegas, especially when you're in any of the bigger hotels and you're like in a spot where you're watching TV. It's a lot of people in there who aren't necessarily fans of certain cities or whatever, but they're in there because they put money on the game or they did this, or they did that. So there's always an interest in whatever's on television, right? So there's always this chatter going on. So when you walk in with your Cavs stuff on or your Brown stuff on or whatever, and they see you actually watching the game and rooting or like throwing your hands up, there's only one or two reasons that's happening. Either you're from there or you put money on the game, right?
Right.
You don't understand how awful it is to not have money on the game and be watching the Cavs and you don't know what the hell who the hell these people are. You know what I mean? But they're like, damn, you actually rooting for these dudes? Like them guys out there. Yeah. And it was an awful game because I think they were playing Sacramento. So it was like I'm watching Sacramento and the Cavs like it was bad because Sacramento wasn't that good either. But it was a bad brand of basketball. But I understand who's on this roster. I believe Sean understands who's on this roster. We're not trying to tell you guys not to be happy for the Cavs because just like it's possible that they could go on an 8-game losing streak, possible they could go on an 8-game win streak. I don't think so, but it could happen. And if they do, again, temper your exuberance, temper your expectations. Again, this team, we thought this team was good enough to be between 6 and 8. You know what that actually means, though? That means that they could actually end up being 9th and still be close to being 6 or 8.
Exactly. Hey, and one more point before I'm done with the Cavs. Whoever that executive was that was Golden LeBron, you were an asshole and a dummy. Why would you do that?
Listen.
Why would you do that? So that dude was, we had actually had a chance to win that game until then. Like LeBron was absolutely possessed in the fourth quarter.
I mean,
now we've seen him do that to other teams plenty of times, but when it happens, he never really did it to us. LeBron would come home and have some decent games, but it wouldn't be the quintessential "I'm going to like stab your heart out" type game.
He's never had that. He had that one time. That was the very first game.
The very first time, right?
It wasn't a quintessential game. It was a game that was good enough to get that monkey off of his back and allow him to kind of beat his chest in everybody's face who was booing him and talking poorly about him and stuff like that. I don't know who that executive was either. I thought it was actually pretty funny.
It was funny.
Not that the dude said something, not that LeBron responded, just the entire situation. Like, I thought it was hilarious. Like, first of all, there's not many people in the building. So, of course, you're going to hear everything that somebody says. So I'll almost guarantee his chirping, he was really like not like going after LeBron. I'll guarantee, because he knows LeBron, I'll guarantee you he was actually messing with LeBron. I'll guarantee it. Just talking. And LeBron took it personal, which I laugh because I always go back to Mike saying, and I took it personal. LeBron took it personal. And he commenced to kind of going off in the fourth quarter or whatever. But I was like, you took that personal, dog. That you took that all the stuff you probably should have taken personal in your life. You took that personal. Come on, man. But that's something that these guys do. You get mad because I don't know what his relationship is with that guy. So maybe he's a guy that I don't joke with you like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's so many layers to it. You don't know how that played out. However, my guy, whoever that guy, a white collar guy, shut the hell up next time.
Yeah,
Shut
leave
the
that
hell
man alone. Don't be poking the bear.
Hey, listen, you're probably pretty good at what you do. He's probably pretty good at what he does. So, since you ain't the one out there defending him, shut the hell up.
Man,
You ain't the one
LeBron was so
trying to stop him.
LeBron was so deadly in that fourth quarter that he shut Austin Carr up. It ain't many people that can make Austin Carr be quiet.
Austin Carr forgot where he was.
Austin Carr was quiet. He wasn't saying nothing. LeBron was he hit like a turnaround step back three, like in the corner. And Austin Carr didn't say nothing. He didn't say wow or nothing. He literally did not say nothing.
Austin probably forgot where he was at that moment. Hey, look, and I'm always like teetering the fence whenever I talk about Austin because my family is really cool with Austin, him and Campy. So it's times when I go places with my family and like there he is. So like, you know what I mean? I kind of have to watch what I say when I'm on here. But bro, I don't listen. I can't stand listening to Austin Carr, bro.
I like Austin Carr, man. I like Carr.
Of course,
everybody
hates freaking Homer. You love everything that anybody ever does. I just can't. I can't take. He is he's the proverbial drunk uncle at the cookout.
Look, and in America, please excuse my French. What I'm about to say. Austin Carr is just niggerish. That's what it comes down to. But
listen, I don't know if it's that or not. I don't even know if it's that or not.
I'm fine with it.
I could listen to Campy all night. When Campy does his breakdown, Campy knows exactly what you're talking about. It's a smooth breakdown. I don't know that Campy would be a good color guy because Campy is always so smooth. Campy is smooth with his, and he's on point with his assessments. When my uncle's on, he the same way, very articulate, very clear. When he used to do the on camera stuff, I didn't like him doing the on camera stuff either. I used to be like, dude, you such a freaking homer. Like, why are you such a homer?
Oh man, like Jim Jones back in the day, man, the Cavs would be down by 35 points. A couple more threes, we'd be right back in this thing.
Listen, a couple like we down by 40. No, they not. Look, they down by 40 to the Showtime Lakers. Ain't no couple threes finna help them. I'm telling you.
The classic Jim Jones line. I'll never forget this. Man, Kevin McHale, we was playing the Celtics. Kevin McHale did a move in the post. And he was like, yeah, I see shades of hot rod in Kevin McHale. I'm like, really? I'm like, wait a minute.
Wait.
You see shades of hot rod in Kevin McHale, one of the all-time greatest power forward of all time.
Like, listen, bro. Come on, man. You killing me. You killing me,
Because you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
You killing me,
And shout out to Jim Jones. I love Jim Jones. He's a homer too. Always down for the Cavaliers.
Man,
as a matter of fact, we might have made the finals if he hadn't broke his foot, the Miracle of Richfield year. Yeah, if he hadn't broke his foot, man, we probably would have made the finals that year.
Yeah, they would have. They would have. I mean, back then, that was a fun time in basketball because I think kind of everybody had a shot, like legitimately, which is why you saw the Bullets in the finals and the Portland in the finals and San Antonio playing deep into those San Antonio teams.
Milwaukee
going deep and stuff like that. Without Lou Alcindor and without Oscar type Milwaukee teams. You know what I mean? I think everybody legitimately had a shot back then. It's not quite like that now. I wish it could get back to that. At some point it would be a funner product to watch. But And I think that's the other part of it. Like you say, you can't watch the games or hardly watch games. I feel the same way because I'm already expecting the who's going to be in the finals already. You're already like,
Right.
It's going to be the Lakers in Brooklyn, or at least Brooklyn's pushing to get there, or it's going to be Milwaukee. It's only like 2 or 3 teams that has a real shot. So I think that should wrap up our NBA talk for
in
that.
our final segment of the day. And like I said before, we said this in our pre-show talk that this is not going to be a long conversation. So we went and looked up a list of the current free agent Browns for the 2021 season. And when I initially looked at the list, I'm like, damn, that's like 35 dudes on this list. There's a lot of people to break down. But I started scouring and going down this list. I was like, man, there ain't nobody on this damn list I want to keep. Not really. There's about 3 dudes on here that I would go out my way to resign.
Now listen. I just want to put this out there for you, Sean, because when I'm trying to figure out what potentially we could talk about, what could fill up the time or whatever. I'm always on the search. I'm always looking, and I'm in a number of sports groups. I'm in a number of Browns groups, and they kind of sometimes give me topics because people bring them up. People talk about them. So I'm like, oh, you know what? That's actually a pretty solid thing to talk about. So I'm in a whole bunch of those types of groups on Facebook, even though for some reason, I don't know what I did or said, but I'm in Facebook jail right now.
I can definitely believe that.
I don't.
They don't take, but nowadays it don't take much to get going to Facebook jail.
It doesn't. They ain't even tell me what I did or said or what I posted. I went to go post at some point yesterday, and they were like, "Hey man, you can't post." I was like, "Damn, what happened? What'd I say?" I wasn't even in no weird.
Yeah, social media is a weird thing, man. I almost got fired from a job a few years ago for something I posted on Facebook, and somehow they found out about it, and it wasn't even that crazy. I still ended up getting fired a couple of years later, but something else. But still, man, this whole social media thing it's weird. And the censorship thing is kind of crazy.
We're in this hyper sensitive area right now. I could have said nothing, but somebody was just mad at what I said and reported it.
Yeah.
And
flag it, right. If it offends somebody,
like, because I don't usually curse. I don't call people stupid or like that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't do that. I may call you stupid based on what I said.
Right.
Pointing out certain things, but I'm not.
You can post something like, man, this is some good pepperoni pizza today, and somebody was gonna be like, yeah. He's a pig. He's a pig killer.
Yeah, somebody is mad.
He kills pigs, right? And tag you for that. All right,
they got a pet pig. But anyway, I got this topic from one of those groups because there's people who believe, and I'm glad Sean has the opinion that he has, because there's people who believe that the Browns need to spend money re-signing the majority of these guys that are on this list.
Because here's the thing: because the majority of the guys on this list aren't on defense, and we had one of the top 5 worst defenses in the NFL. Well, not on paper. Somehow stat-wise, the Browns were in the middle of the road.
I don't know how we was middle of the road, bro.
Not from what I watched.
The stuff that I watched, it was no way we was 15th or 18th or 20th. No. To me, what I watched at times, we was 35th. We weren't even close.
Right.
We wasn't even close, man.
All right.
So this honestly, as Sean said,
who would you? The guys on here. Who would you sign? Who would you bring back?
Out of the guys that are on this list, and I'll bring up a couple names so that the folks at home can, play along with us. So there's guys on the list that are probably necessary to what we need to do. Rashard Higgins, we have Olivier Vernon on here, Larry Ogunjobi, B.J. Goodson, Malcolm Smith. Andrew Zendejo, Carl Joseph, Terrence Mitchell, Cody Parkey, Kevin Johnson. Those are probably some of the names that everybody's familiar with because
Right. I started going down this. I was like, the other dudes ain't even worth
they're
even
really
mentioning.
not.
That was like towards
They're really not.
that list.
And then there's a couple. Those guys that I just mentioned are all unrestricted free agents, which basically means they can walk and go wherever they want to, or the Browns can try to re-sign them. And then there's a couple guys that are on the restricted list, Kadero Hodge being one of them.
Right.
So out of this particular list of guys, I would try to re-sign or re-sign. I only say try because these guys can decide they don't want to be here. Rashard Higgins would be my first, the first guy I would talk to. I would need to sit him down and get him into at least a 3 to 4 year contract. I think he's shown his worth. I thought that back when Freddie was benching the guy. I didn't understand why he wasn't getting any repetitions. I didn't understand why he wasn't on the field. I thought he was one of the more sure-handed guys. He proved to be that when he got opportunities to play under Stefanski and in this offense. He was one of Baker's favorite targets, and he makes the game easier for Baker. So why get rid of somebody he's already comfortable with and try to force him to get more comfortable with someone else? So he would be my first target. My second target, to be honest, would be B.J. Goodson.
Okay, interesting.
I think B.J. is, as much as we rode him, especially early, we rode him a lot early in the season. I saw him get better at what he did. And remember when he was out? Remember when he wasn't? I think he had COVID, right? So he was out for a game or so, and I could tell the difference in the defense. I could tell that he wasn't there. And then when he came back, I could tell that he was back. Like, so he had to have been doing something right. And he also understands the defense. And if he was calling the plays, you kind of want to have a guy that helps you on the field. If you're Joe Woods, you want to have a guy that helps you on the field to understand what you're trying to do. And I think B.J. Goodson gets that. So I would bring back B.J. And then there's Carl Joseph. And I thought aside from Harrison, I think Ronnie Harrison was a great trade. That was a great pickup. So I think when Delpit gets back and he's healthy, you got Delpit and Harrison on the field, but you need a capable backup. You need somebody who's. I think Carl Joseph kind of is like one of those. He's always running downfield. Like he's just like going towards the tackle. He ain't gonna cover that much, and I think asking him to cover might not be what he does. But from the strong standpoint, he's that guy. I would like to have him, especially as a backup, not as a starter. You talk to him and see if you can bring him in. And
someone that can have depth.
Yeah, I think he's a viable backup to an addition on that squad. And these young guys do need some help. They need a veteran presence from the safety spot because Delpit ain't played a down in the NFL.
Right.
So, you get another good role model, kind of, so to speak. A guy who's already done it and played. Ronnie Harrison is another guy who's already done it and played. He played in Jacksonville too, so he's a vet, but he's still young. I think he's only in his 4th year. Is this his 4th year?
Yeah.
So, I think those, out of everybody I just mentioned, those are the only 3 that I would make a run at.
Yep, and I only have 3 myself. I had Carl Joseph. I didn't have B.J. Goodson, but you make a good argument for B.J. Goodson. I had Kendall Lamb and Rashard Higgins. Kendall Lamb, because he played, we need depth. We showed that you can lose the offensive lineman at any time, and you need depth on the line. Carl Joseph for the same reasons that you mentioned, and then Rashard Higgins for the same reasons that you mentioned. Everybody else, if you guys need a ride to the airport on your way out of town, just go ahead and contact the 2 guys in the mic 216, and I will personally take you to the airport. And We can stop at Wendy's and get a 4 for $4. I'll feed you, dude. On your way out of here. The only person I don't have no beef with on this list is Olivier Vernon, because he had the Achilles, man. If he hadn't gotten hurt, I would actually have made an argument to bring him back. But now
I agree with that. But do you try to bring
he may not be ready for the season?
Now, answer me this though, bro, because I thoroughly agree with that. I agree with that. And I would add Kendall Lamb to my list. Actually, I left him out, but I would make a run, because that's gonna be a cheap pickup, and I think he's worth it. Like you said, we need depth on the offensive line, and we talked about that, us needing the depth. So why not bring in a guy who understands the scheme? But
right.
Going back to Olivier, if Olivier doesn't get hurt, bro, I don't know how old Olivier is.
He up there. He's up there football wise.
Yeah. He's got to be. Let's see. We're gonna look it up.
He got to be he's at least 30.
I think he's at least 30 or right at 30. And with that injury, it does pretty much mean that he's not. Yeah, he's 30.
Yeah, you tear Achilles, that pretty much adds like 2 years on to your
He'll
career.
be 31. He's 30 already. So he'll be 31 when the season, or during the season. And he probably won't even start the season because of when he hurt his Achilles. So
right.
He made $11 million last year. If he didn't get hurt, would you make a run at him, knowing that he probably was gonna have a really solid season and probably want similar money to this?
Yeah, the Browns have the cap space for it.
We do. Now
so I wouldn't give him a long-term deal. I'll give him about a 2-year deal. Or one. I don't know if you can do one with an option in the NFL. I know the NFL contract's a little bit different than all the other major sports. But I'd rather do that than the stupid stuff I heard on the radio today. You know, people are so enamored with JJ Watt. I'm like, JJ Watt is done.
Listen, I don't understand.
He's a great place, a Hall of Famer. But it was like, I'll trade OBJ for JJ Watt straight up. I'm like, man, y'all insane.
Like, are you nuts?
All right. I'm going to look up his stats right now. Like, J.J. Watts, he hasn't had like a double-digit sack season, I don't think, in a couple of years.
Are you crazy? These guys would do what?
Right. Everybody's enamored with, they think he's the same J.J. Watt from, 3 and 4 years ago, and he's not.
Unfortunately, a lot of Browns fans are not football fans. And what I mean when I say that is they don't know, they don't have football knowledge. Like, they're not watching the games. They just hear a name. And JJ Watt has been one of the biggest names in football for a number of years. So I understand how you're like, oh, it's JJ Watt. But this isn't the JJ Watt straight out of Wisconsin.
If you look at this year, man, JJ Watt had 5 sacks. Last year he had 4.
How many games?
2000, huh?
How many games did he play last year?
He played 16 this year.
What about
he played 8? He played 8 games the year before.
God dang, he had played 8 games and had 6 sacks?
He played 8 games and had 4 sacks.
Oh, 4 sacks, okay.
Right. Then he played the year before, he played all 16, and he had 16 sacks. The year before, he missed the whole season. No, he played 5 games. The year before that, he was hurt too. So he was there. So 2016 and 2017, he played 5 games total.
And he's had some significant injuries, like injuries that at his age, what is he, 31, 32?
No, I don't think he's that old. He is hold on, let me look at his bio. He was born. It's funny when you pull up something and it's staring you right in the face, but you go blind because you feel under pressure to get the information out. He's 31. You're right, he's 31. He was born in '89.
So he'll actually be 32 this year.
Now, what's crazy is, despite those stats I just gave you, he still in his career has 101 sacks.
Really?
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Right. So when he's in his prime, he was dominant, but evidently, looking at those numbers, he's not the same guy. And I'm not just looking at everybody's looking at his name, JJ. Like, no, like I'm looking at the actual production on the field.
That's what an actual fan of football does. We actually go in and we pay attention to what's actually happening. People who live on emotion say stuff like, we should trade OBJ for JJ Watt straight up. What? And on what earth would that even? Nobody on earth would make that trade. If no matter who had OBJ. Not this JJ Watt.
Right.
Not this JJ Watt. Maybe the
TJ Watt. Yeah. You give me TJ Watt for OBJ straight up. Yep. As a matter of fact,
I'm gonna at least consider it.
As a matter of fact, speaking of Pittsburgh, Bud Dupree is a free agent. So Andrew Berry, Bud Dupree, and Levante David from Tampa Bay are free agents.
They sure are.
You know, you guys need to start looking at that right now.
They sure are. Look,
because Pittsburgh is notorious for not paying their guys, especially if they feel that if they have to rebuild. You know,
and we need speed, and we need lateral speed, and we need downfield speed in the linebacker position.
Yeah.
Guess what? Both of those guys bring.
Exactly.
And let me tell you, Bud Dupree not only brings that, but he's a sure tackler and he has football instincts. These are things that we need defensively. We need guys that have a football instinct, sure tackling. I don't mind the stick hits, but I need you to also make a tackle when a tackle is needed.
And Levante David is just solid from sideline to sideline, man. That kid, every time I'm watching a Buccaneers game, he's always in every play on defense. He's somewhere around the football. Like, you can't teach that.
You need that kind of stuff. So, let's hope that we can, and we don't necessarily have to, spend a ton of money to get these guys either, because the Browns have so much cap space. We could sign all of these guys to 2 or 3 year deals and be out of whatever we owe them soon. And the reason that I say that is because you got some guys, Baker, the potential of Baker's contract is going to come up. We are already paying a boatload of money to Miles, which is deserved, to be honest. But you don't want those contracts to start butting heads. So you don't want to do a whole bunch of long-term.
Well, and I think that's why the Browns were smart. Like, yeah, we sacrificed a lot on defense, but they signed a lot of those guys. All those guys we mentioned, they all came here on 1 year deals.
1 year deals.
You weren't tied to them. So, like, people will argue, they was like, yeah, man, we should have brought back Schobert. We should have brought back Kirksey. But those guys weren't going to give you
what you actually need.
Like for the money that Schobert is making right now, he should be out there like Ray Lewis or Luke Kuechly. And Schobert is solid. He's a very good linebacker.
Yeah.
But for that money, sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward sometimes. So now when you've got this list of 30 dudes that's probably coming off the payroll probably next year, now you got some maneuverability. Now you can make a more calculated decision. Okay, maybe we can spend a little bit on Levante David or Bud Dupree or somebody like that because we saved so much on the back end before, and make a run at it. So we'll see. That'll be interesting to see what happens. Andrew Berry seems like a very smart man, not really much tied with emotion. Like I said, the only person that I would be upset if they don't bring back is Rashard Higgins.
Yeah,
I don't know what because Kevin Stefanski said something that surprised me. Because when they were talking about the fumble and the hit, Kevin Stefanski didn't make any excuses for Rashard. He was like, "Look, you can't extend the ball. He said, I don't teach that. I don't teach you extending the ball out on the goal line because you can fumble the football." But then he said that Rashard Higgins is a warrior. He's done everything we've asked of him. When he was on the scout team, I was like, why was he on the scout team early in the season? So evidently, he just must not be a good practice guy. He just doesn't flash in practice. He's probably not fast.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah. He must not be like it's something that he's not doing in practice that allows or makes rather the coaches feel like, what is he doing? Why is he over there? Why is you know what I mean? And there's people that are like that. I know I remember a guy that used to practice. We would be in practice, man. This dude used to look great in practice. Every practice, he'd show up for everybody. And then we get on the field, and it'd be like it was almost like as if the lights went on. You know how you turn on the lights. Anybody who's ever had roaches in their house, you turn the light on, goes like this. That's how it's like you would turn the light on, like this dude would just be like froze, like he didn't know, what to do next or whatever. So I don't know what I never even thought about that because I didn't hear that quote, but I never thought about it from that angle. The only person that didn't have him like deep on the bench or upset with him was like Greg Williams. Greg Williams was fine with him.
Yeah.
And that's how we figured out that he was any good was because he played during that time. And then the next year we were expecting bigger things out of him. And Freddie like basically almost just did away with the dude. He didn't care. Look, he didn't care who was catching the ball. It wasn't finna be Rashard Higgins. And
hopefully, man, hopefully they see the value in him and bring him back at a decent number. Now, because the thing is now, I think a team may make a run at Rashard Higgins.
Oh, heck yeah. Somebody's gonna make a run. And somebody's gonna deal with whatever that thing is that he doesn't do. He'll go to maybe a more structured, more regimented team. Like let's say he goes, not that they need it now, but just saying, for instance, let's say he goes to a Seattle. They got a quarterback for sure. They got an offensive structure. You're gonna have to do this. This is what we need you to do. That's what the expectation will be. What if he goes to Tampa and say TB12 comes back? You got your quarterback. Here's what we do here. Boom, boom, boom. This is what we need you to do.
Right.
Make that clear. So I don't know if the Browns aren't being clear enough with him, like what the expectations of him specifically are. If they're just kind of blanketing, because like Kevin Stefanski might say, we don't teach that. Well, were you teaching the whole of the wide receivers, which is still understandable because if you don't teach it, you don't teach it. Or were you talking to him specifically? Like after that, did you go to him and say to him, hey man, we don't teach that. We don't teach you stretching out. I don't understand that. To be honest, you're close to the goal line and you want to make the score. I think that shows a lot for his effort. Speaking of Rashard.
Yeah, I think it's a natural instinct to do that.
And that's what I mean. Like, I just think that if I'm that close and this is a playoff game, I need to try to help my team, and I'm going to try to extend this. Now, the thing is, and this is where I've landed on that. Everybody else giving me a hard time because, he got hit in the head. My thing is this. If you extend the ball knowing you're going to get hit, I don't care if he got hit in the head or not. You got to hold on to that damn ball.
Yep.
That's just it.
I'm the same way.
Because let's say he doesn't get hit in the head. Where he was and the way that Sorensen was coming at him,
even if still going to drop that damn ball.
There it is. If this is the effort, which I'm okay with, if this is what you're going to do, I'm going to need you to make sure that you secure the ball, if nothing else. And that didn't happen. So there's some things that definitely need to be discussed. And I ain't going to try to tell the coach how to better organize or better clarify what he's doing. He's the coach. So I can be upset at it and I can be frustrated by it. But at the end of the day, that's his job. That's what he does. And we all have to, as fans, be mad in the corner and just hope whatever it is that he's telling these guys is going to work at the end of the day, especially work for our beneficial situations, which is winning football games, being 11-5. And let me tell y'all something else. This is a scary statement, and I'm getting ready to say. When 11-5 barely gets you into the playoffs, we're gonna have to be better next year.
Oh yeah,
gonna have to be better.
Most
11-5. We listen. Every team under us was 11-5.
Because I'm gonna tell you what, based on our offseason moves, they're going to predict the Browns to not only win the AFC North, they're probably KC will probably still be the favorite, but the Browns are going to be just like how we were coming into 2019. The Browns are going to be that it team again. Here we go again with the offseason hype.
It's so crazy.
It's coming again.
It's so crazy that it happens that way, but that's how it happens. These guys.
It's coming again. So now there will be a target on your back.
If the Browns get almost relevant, everybody, we're the sexy team to pick, whether it's going to happen or not. We're the sexy team. So I think you're right. I think that these guys, they're already there. People are already there. So like you say, depending on who we end up signing, re-signing, whoever we end up picking up free agent wise and whoever we end up drafting, if guys come back healthy and guys come back, like Delpit got hurt so early in the quote unquote practice and OTA sessions that he might be ready for the season. Actually,
he should be.
He might actually be fully like a full go, and that'll be great because he needs to have that time to practice. Let's work out those kinks in a preseason game and see how that, how you do there. But that is the hope. So you get those guys coming back. You get all these guys healthy and coming back. Man, he's in a relatively decent defense. I don't even know if we needed this year, if we needed to be the best defense ever. I don't think we needed to be that. And we still would have won 11 possible. Honestly, we could have won 13 games this year.
Oh, most definitely.
This team could have won 13 games this year. I 2 games off the top of my head that we shouldn't have lost, the Jets and the damn Raiders. 2 games we shouldn't have lost.
13-3, you win the division, you get a home game in the playoffs, and then who knows what happens.
And then who knows?
Go from there.
But it's all good. Again, as we said to the Cavs fans, I'll say it to me and I'll say it to Sean. I'll say it to everybody else. Let's temper our exuberance a little bit. It is exciting for one of the few times to be in the offseason as a Browns fan. And hopefully.
Right. And also, a quick side note, the Indians did not sign Brad Hand, so I guess we don't need a closer anymore either. So 2 things the Indians don't need is a shortstop and a closer. Brad Hand had one of the best seasons he's ever had last year, and we don't need him. So on that note, because we're about at 2 hours right now, we're trying to get our show under control because sometimes me and RP can get long-winded. So, Russell, we're about that 2-hour mark now. So, do you have anything else that you wanted to add, or
man, you can't end the show on those type of comments.
I'm just saying, man, the Indians are pissing me off. They normally don't piss me because I expect them to not sign people in the cut pay, but they're really going too far at this point. They just don't give a damn at this point. This
is just the Dolans being the Dolans, bro. This is what they do. This is what the Dolans do, man. And here we are, back at square one again. Back at square one. They're making Tito's job that much harder every year.
Man, look, so what the Indians are banking on is all those guys that been, cooking up in the minor leagues, kind of the Bobby Bradleys and the Josh Naylors, those guys, and Oscar Mercado, they basically saying, hey, you all ready now or you ain't? And this season could either be the 94 Indians when Baerga and Albert Bell and all those guys were coming into their own, they came into their own, and Kenny Lofton at one time, or it could be the 86 Indians with Corey Snyder and Brett Butler and them. They were supposed to be this great.
And
the next best thing in the
101 games, and you lose 101 games.
It's either gonna go one or two ways. Ain't gonna be no in between. It won't be no in between. Either the Indians gonna have a great young, exciting team, or they're gonna suck with a great pitching staff that gets overworked because they don't have nobody to back them up hitting.
And it's gonna take a while, man, for guys to want to be in that stadium and watch the games. So,
Right.
Because you don't have anything to go for. I mean, and I'm talking about because most baseball fans are casual baseball fans.
Yeah.
They're not the people that go to the stadium type fans. Baseball fans are baseball fans. You and I will probably watch regardless because we're baseball fans.
Yeah.
We'll go regardless and sit in the stadium and
man, them people go. They go to Progressive Field to eat and drink.
Yeah,
and socialize.
Because
it's a great place to sit down and eat and drink too.
It's a social event. Baseball is a social event. You go to eat $10 hot dogs and $12 beers. That's what you're in the building for. And to talk to your friend and to laugh. And if it's a day game, because I love day games, to kind of giggle at the fact that you're not at work at 1 o'clock and you're tanked at 1:00.
Right.
That's like, it's nothing better than that. There's no better feeling than to be walking into that stadium and you can smell the peanuts and the popcorn. I know people are probably like, are you serious? It's nothing like walking in the building, smelling the peanuts and the popcorn and grabbing a beer and a hot dog, and it's say 75 degrees outside, which is a perfect temperature for baseball. It's not too hot, not too humid. What's better than that? It's not much.
Exactly.
And you with your homies, it's not much that's better than that. So
ain't no pressure, ain't all that aggression. Like you go to a football game, it's all that aggression.
It's baseball is so chill. You sit down,
just chill.
Put your feet up, you hope a foul ball come your way. Hopefully a foul ball comes your way and you don't have to fall over them hard ass seats to get to it. That's true. But yeah, so I mean, we'll get into the Indians a little bit more. We kind of tipped on it in one of our last shows, which is why I'm telling Sean he can't end the show with that kind of statement.
Man, it just had crossed my mind, and I was like, man, these bastards.
He wasn't that frustrated at the Frankie trade, but now he's pissed off. I was a little more pissed off because I just felt like they're ruining stuff, but he was looking at it more philosophically. Now he's pissed.
It's just the accumulation of it all. Like, are we going to be able to field a major league team out there? But hey, I neither here nor there. So you can reach us like we're on a damn phone book, where you can follow us at 2 Guys and a Mic 216 on YouTube, 2 Guys and a Mic 216 on Facebook and Instagram, and then you can stream us on any streaming platform, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and Spotify. So
Apple Podcast too.
What's that?
Apple Podcast too.
Yep. So and I see a few people interacting with us. We have about 2 or 3 hardcore fans, and we appreciate y'all. Like I said, you guys, comment, interact with us, and we'll definitely interact. It may take us about 2 or 3 days, but we'll get back with you at some point. But definitely check us out, man. We're trying to make this thing grow a little bit. So, the more listeners, the better. The more interaction, the better. So, You got any closing comments, sir?
Nope. Just hit that subscribe button when you come to the YouTube page. Again, like Sean said, comment. Like our pages on Facebook and Instagram. We love you guys. Appreciate you guys taking out time to be to listen to us rant and rave, kind of go crazy at certain points. We appreciate it. Again, let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you like it. Let us know if you hate it. It's all good. We love you guys. Love you, Sean. Have a good rest of the weekend.
You too.
Be safe, everybody. Peace.
All right. Peace out.